jobs did women do before the war?
Well, before the war they were cooks, and there was nursing jobs. They also did teaching jobs. So that's the kind of jobs women had before the war. When the war started, the women had to take on a lot of different job roles. This was because
The men were at war, so the women had to do their jobs. But when the war started, all the jobs changed. Then
I guess I'll have to show 'em all. So there's one thing on my mind, and I am working loud.
women worked in factories with machinery. Did the war have a good effect on women? A good impact on women?
Well, the women had to fill in for the men's jobs, so it gave them a new job experience which they normally wouldn't have had a chance to do. So I think it did have a good effect on women.
In Britain during World War I, roughly 2 million women replaced men at jobs. Some of these were positions that women might have been expected to fill before the war, such as clerical jobs, but one effect of the war wasn't just the number of jobs, but the type. Women were suddenly in demand for work on the land, on transport, in hospitals, and most significantly in industry and engineering. Women were involved in the vital factories, building ships, and doing work such as loading and unloading coal. The war, it opened up a wider range of occupations to female workers and hastened the collapse of traditional women's employment, particularly in domestic service. From the 19th century to 1911, between 11 and 13% of the female population in England and Wales were domestic servants. By 1931, the percentage had dropped to under 8%. For the middle classes, the decline of domestic servants was facilitated by the rise of domestic appliances such as cookers, electric irons, and vacuum cleaners.
I guess I'll have to show 'em all.
The Women's Army.
The Women's Army. Although very few women ever fought in the Great War, women were enlisted to the auxiliary armies so that the men could be released to fight on the front line.
In the UK, many women joined the Women's Army Auxiliary Corps, which later became known as Queen Mary's Army Auxiliary Corps.
The women were largely employed on unglamorous tasks of communication, cooking, catering, storekeeping, clerk work, telephone and administration, printing, motor vehicle and maintenance.
Women also became truck and ambulance drivers as more and more of the men were called to the front line.
People think they know it all. I guess I'll have to show 'em all. So there's one thing on my mind, and I am working loud.
The Women's Land Army. Because of the naval battles and blockades during the war, food supply from abroad became scarce, and food production on the home front had to be massively increased. In Britain, 113,000 women joined the Women's Land Army, which was set up in 1917 to provide a workforce to run the farms.
Many members of the Land Army came from the middle and upper classes of society. They made a valuable contribution to the war effort, but their numbers were very few compared to the millions of working class women running the farms in the west of Europe.
I guess I'll have to show 'em all. So there's one thing on my mind, and I am working loud at time. I'm coming through something.
Communication, cooking and catering, shopkeeping, clerical work, telephony, administration, printing, motor vehicle maintenance, truck and ambulance drivers.
I guess I'll have to show 'em all. So there's one thing on my mind, and I am working loud at time. I'm coming through something out of the way. I am a woman on a mission. Nothing can stop me. I'm stronger than ever. I'm gonna see this through. I am a woman on a mission. Whatever it takes, I will mission.